Stories are important. They warm us, they warn, they chastise, they set us alight with wonder, they make us feel safe, feel seen, feel understood. As they are passed on from generation to generation, they act as a sort of record keeping, a form of memory of days we never saw. Often the story is morphed and changed, that the truth is hidden deep within it. But something of the original is left behind and survives. From the cradle, children are raised on these stories. Mothers whisper some scrap of memory or invent something on the spot. And later on, they scare these children with stories of the Forsaken, of Grendel who will eat them, and of Lanfear, Lady of the Night, who will haunt their dreams. Just a little bit of something to keep them in line. And then they will hear real stories from Greenman. Greenman are the best thing that ever happened to the world, aren't they? From cities like Ilian to forgotten villages, places blotted off maps, and even to the threefold land, a place that is bad to most wetlanders. Even there, amidst those hot suns and wild savage Aiel, Greenmen walk free, to wander and to tell their stories. If it's a particularly good Greenman, then nothing is better than an hour spent listening, enraptured to stories of days gone by. Tales of great wars and great heroes, the Aptaragin cycle, tales of Atur Paendrag Taanrial, Atur Hawking, Atur the High King who conquered and ruled much of the world. Stories of strange lands, of warders and trollocs, of Ogia and Aiel. The thousand tales of Anna the wise counselor, of Jaime the giant slayer, how Susa tamed Jane Fast Rider, Mara and the foolish kings, of Len, how he flew to the moon in the belly of an eagle made of fire, and his daughter Salia, who walked among the stars. Stories of all ages, of all that were and those that will be. Tales of Mosk the giant with his lances of fire that could reach around the world, and his wars with Elsbeth, the queen of all. Tales of Matirisi the healer, mother of the wondrous Ind. Of the age of legends and the dragon of... But I stray too far. Know that the stories are endless, and that Greenmen know them, that birds can tell them even better, and that the world craves them. There is one story that never fails to delight. It is the story of the Greenman, and that is the story we talk about today. He is tall, they say. He is tall and magnificent, with a voice that sings in your ears. His hair is grass, his eyes are hazelnuts, his form is made of living vines, and wherever he walks or whatever he touches, green things sprout or blossom or thrive. The plants love him, and even thorns bend out of his way. The stories speak of the peace that emanates from him, a sort of aura of contentment with the world. You look at the plants and the green that always surrounds him, and it all seems brighter. Songbirds seem sweeter, and nature is almost alive. Near the Greenman, it is as if the trees were one step away from waking and joining him in song. The stories always tie him with the tree of life, Avenda Sora, and as stories do, they tell it a dozen different ways. Some say that he will watch over it until the end of the age. Some say that he created it, others that he does not have it, that he gave it to the Aiel for safekeeping. Though the stories change with every telling, in each one they speak of Avenda Sora's trefoil leaves, and they speak of the Greenman, this man made of living tree. So who exactly is the Greenman? Are these stories true, or is the Greenman an invention by some long lost, long forgotten Greenman that grew too popular? Let's pull back the curtain a bit and see the real thing. It's probably no surprise to you that, well, the Greenman is real. Most stories are offshoots of some truth. In the age of legends, that age of wonder, where things that now seem daunting were done with casual ease, the Aes Sedai made a discovery. They found a way to make constructs, living things made with and or that are able to utilize the one power. It was using this technique that they made chora trees and the neem. The neem were a race, or rather, they were able to use the one power for the benefit of all plants. One scholar is said to have said, where neem touched, all manner of growing things thrived. They are long-lived, though no one knows for how long. And they have the aforementioned affinity with plants. They possess the talent, or rather, will direct the talent of singing, as do some Ogier of this age. At the time, they took part in seed planting. Ogier would start the ceremony and a neem would pick up the tune while the Daishain Ail joined in. The neem will then use the harmony to make seed grow. The bounty of that harvest will be enormous. There definitely wasn't any hunger in the age of legends. One of these neem was Someshta, and it is he who would eventually come to be known as the Greenman. Time passed, as time is wont to do, and the Aes Sedai made another discovery, this one to the detriment of society. It led to the drilling of the bow and eventually to Shaitan having a hold on the world. It led to the war of power, chaotic days of fear and horror, terrible days of death and the loss of all things that had been discovered, days of betrayal and evil. By the time Lews sealed the bow, and in so doing unleashed a final doom upon the world, only one neem survived, Someshta, and even he was not left untouched. His memory was cracked. Everything was hazy to him, and he could not remember much of his past. Yet he was the last of his race. And in those last days, the true last days, that were also somehow the first days of a new age, as Aes Sedai discovered the madness that would kill and destroy the world they knew, an Aes Sedai named Solinda called for Someshta. I believe that an Aes Sedai had had a viewing, some part of it that would eventually become the Karaethon cycle. Anyway, Solinda Sedai and some of her fellows knew that they had to prepare for the rebirth of Lews, and they made preparations that would aid him in the last battle, Tamon Gaidon. And so they made the eye of the world, and the Greenman was set to watch over certain treasures that would be required in the last battle. And so, with the wheel of time turned, time spun by, and millennia passed. And the story of the eye of the world grew into a legend, and young men and boys sought out the Greenman as they craved glory. Not many succeeded though, especially, well, in the days After the 100 Years' War, not 1 in 5 could find it. Aes Sedai have always had a bit more luck, and Ogier were always able to find the eye. There is one little tick to the whole thing though. Once you have found the eye of the world, you could never find it again. Which was bad, because who wouldn't want to spend an hour or so with Someshta? Well, that is how the place came to be made. In the last days, Moraine Sedai became the first person to actually find the eye twice. She had in her company 5 youths from a remote village, 3 of them Taviren, and one of the 3 was the actual dragon reborn. The last battle, or at least the first pangs of it, was drawing nearer. As it happened, 2 of the Forsaken, Agino and Balthamel, who were recently freed from the bow from Schlegel itself, followed Moraine and her stooges, Moraine and her charges to the eye, and a battle ensued. Agino and the Greenman were the first casualties. When he felt the violence taking place in the eye, he came forward and Agino set upon him, setting Someshta on fire. In return, as they grappled, the Greenman made or caused all the things that grow in dank places, fungus, mold and such, things with spores, to grow on Agino, and both died as he fell to the ground with the mighty crash, like an ancient tree being felled. The Greenman grasped an acorn, and even as he died, the acorn grew. Its roots sank, it became a seedling. The ground roiled as the roots sank deeper and deeper yet, and the trunk shot up and the leaves unfurled. And in moments there stood there an oak tree, tall, a giant, that could have been there for 500 years. A tomb, a marker for a legend. The remnant of something that had stood or withstood an entire age, the loss of many, many things. Loyal, the Ogier who was with Moraine's company, sang to the oak tree on the morrow. He sang it back into life and vibrancy, that it may survive the blight and endure, that it will not shrivel up or die or be consumed by the dark. I like to think that the oak tree stood, that it endured the 2 years it took Randall Thor to seal the bow, and that it still remains even today. That Someshta, last of the Nim, who lived for thousands of years, who sang with Ogier and Ashain Ail in seed songs, who, in his own words, kept the faith for so long, that some memory of him still remains. Even if it's some huge tree in the middle of nowhere that someone will stumble upon into at some time or other.